Welcome to No Bunts, the podcast for the casual baseball fan here on the Athletic Baseball Show. I'm Tas Mellis, in studio with me, as always, making the magic happen. It's super producer JD.
Hello.
What's up, JD? And my co-host all season long from Taiwan, Joel McMillan. Joel, how you doing?
I'm splendid, Tas. Thanks for asking.
Always, Joel. And great to hear the word splendid. You don't hear that enough.
You really don't.
A little break from our normal podcast today. If you're looking for MLB trade deadline news, check the Athletic Baseball Show podcast feed. Check the Athletic website. Reporters, podcasters doing incredible work on that front. As for this show, a little bit different today. We've got somebody who's been on the other side of the camera, been part of the game for a long, long time in a different capacity. In studio here, we've got Larry French, who is a handheld camera op for the Atlanta Braves for a long, long time. Finally paid off a couple of years ago with the World Series championship. He was also part of our basketball show, No Dunk / The Starters at Turner Broadcasting for several years. So we'll get into that and a whole lot more. Larry, thanks a lot for coming in. We appreciate it.
Hello, sweet world. Thank you, guys.
It's still sweet.
This is awesome. I've always been fans of you guys, and when we first started working together, I don't know if you realize this, but whenever the crew sheets would come out and they would have you scheduled to work certain shows, we'd all talk amongst ourselves, and it's like, no, they don't have me on the starters this week. And so that was like a fighting between all of us wanting to get on the starters and work the show. I know it was a favorite of most of the guys in the studio. So this is an awesome treat, and I'm so excited about being here.
Oh, thank you. That's a very nice compliment. We appreciate it.
Well, this was a treat for us, too, because Larry, I don't know if you know this, but whenever we saw your name on the crew sheet, we were like, hell yeah, Larry French on the case. And usually that was only when we were on the road. We usually got you on the road, which was awesome because you are incredible.
And I'll tell you why. I was mostly on the road, and I'm saying this jokingly. So I can remember when we started doing the starters, we did it in a certain studio. It's where NBA TV does the main show, and we had a really big studio in there. And JD had us I think there was 3 cameras. There was 3 PEDs and then the jib. And I was scheduled for the jib this particular day. And so
the jib, that monstrous camera, the
real long arm camera with the camera down at the end. And so I'm excited about, I think it was the first one that I did. And so JD is calling all the shots, and he's like, all right, guys, we're coming on live in about 10 seconds here. Everybody's, I'm nervous. And so he's told me my shot is over camera 2, and then I'll slide down over camera 2 and then settle in on a on the 4 shot. Mm-hmm. And so he counts down, ready, 3, 2, 1, and take 4. And I come down and I hit the top of camera 2.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And so the camera obviously makes a little adjustment. You can obviously see if you're sitting at home that's not supposed to happen.
Oh, I remember seeing that at the desk. Yeah.
JD, in that moment I realized what type of director JD was. So I hit it, and then I settle in the shot, and I remember JD going, "Oh." That was it. There was no cussing. There was no yelling. It was like, "Oh." And so that was it. I was like, this is going to be okay.
I was worried you hit Hal in the head or whoever was on camera, too.
So anyways, that was, I remember that day like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
but,
and so do we.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome stuff. I was at a game last week, actually, at a Braves game, and I saw you working it, doing handheld. You're on the move a lot. You're by the dugout. You're all over the infield. My first question, do you warm up for games? Because you're moving a lot. Sort of like an NBA referee where you think they don't have to warm up, but it's probably a good idea.
That's a great question because I guess about 8 years ago, and it was when we did the starters down in New Orleans. I believe we did New Orleans down there.
2014 and 2017 we did some All-Star games. Yeah.
I was going through some back issues, and that was back when I had to travel myself. The studio didn't pay for a flight or a hotel, and you traveled yourself for the ability to work. And I was going through these back issues, and I got all the way to New Orleans and realized that I was going to need help, and I called a chiropractor when we got down there, and this guy adjusted me when I was down there in New Orleans where I could work the week.
Right.
And then I knew in that week that I was coming home and having back surgery. But after I had the back surgery, I talked to several camera operators, and they're like, man, you got to stretch. Stretching is what you got to do. And I was like, yep, you're right. I'm going to start stretching. And I'm ashamed to say the only stretching I do is really over the dugout wall. Like when I walk over the wall, that's the only stretching I do. But, yeah, I used to keep track of how many miles that I used to walk, and I don't do as much now because I do more coverage with home runs for both teams, so I sort of have to be near the field. But back in the day, I had a meter on my phone, and I was putting in about 6 to 8 miles a night.
Wow.
So, and you can tell by my physique.
Oh, of course.
You can tell that I'm a walker. So, no secret there.
Yeah, you got to get the camera ops in a circle pre-game, doing their stretches. That's fun. How did you become a camera op? How did it all start?
So this is a great question. I get asked a lot of questions like this when I'm running camera, and a lot of kids will ask me, and I really have to say that people that get in this industry, they get into it 3 different ways. One, they know they want to get in TV and they go to school, and they pick out a school and wherever it might be. 2 would be what I have found is that it's through nepotism. It's either family or friends that gets them in the business, and
I appreciate your honesty.
It happens quite a lot. And then the 3rd would be how I got into it, and it was on a fluke. And I would say over my career, 25, 28 years, is that I had 6 TV breaks. Those are distinct moments that changed my life as a person in the television industry, and each break is attached to the next break. And I really have to start real quickly as to how I became who I am is through a mom of mine that was German. And when I say German, I mean she was hardcore. And my mom got me started in my employment industry, if you will, when I was 14 years old. And basically we had a neighbor that lived down the street, Miss Durden. She did hair out of her house, and my mom would go down there on a Saturday and have her hair done, and then she'd come back and say, you will cut Miss Durden's yard Sunday at 8 o'clock. She will give you $20 and you will cut her yard. And I'm like, I'm skateboarding Sunday. We're all skateboarding. No, you're cutting Miss Durden's yard. So that's sort of how it started, where I was cutting grass at these neighbors' yards, and the neighbor would tell the neighbor, and next thing I know, I had like 6 yards. And so my summer went from, thinking about I was going to be skateboarding, I was going to play baseball on my high school team. And so my mom started out with me having a lawnmower job. So when I turned 16, my mom, I was excited. I got the driver's license, and my life was going to change. Literally, I to this day, the day I got my driver's license was one of the most exciting days of my life, when I got a driver's license. And so,
thank you. You're taking me back to my driver's license day.
It was just to this day.
It's been a minute since I thought about it.
It was that thing that allowed you away from the house, away from your parents, and out in the world. This driver's license, this ability to take a car somewhere else. And so, my mom told me about the time I turned 16. She said, we are going to Wendy's for your birthday. I'm taking you to Wendy's. And I was excited. I love Wendy's. So we drove to Wendy's, and I ordered like a triple cheese with everything on it, large fry, a large frosty, and a drink. And I'm sitting there eating, and I'm saying, wow, I got my driver's license. I just turned 16. I'm on top of the world. Like 5 minutes into the meal, my mom she sees a server that's wiping down a table next to us. She goes, I would like you to bring the manager to me. And I'm like, uh-oh, what happened? My mom, something with her meal got messed up. And the lady comes over and she goes, can you please tell the manager to come out? So the manager comes out shortly. He says, yes, ma'am, can I help you? I would like you to give my son a job. And so I'm eating, and I'm like, I don't want a job. I'm not here for a job. I'm here for a meal. And he, like, without hesitation, just turns around, walks in the back, and then I'm looking at her. I'm like, what's going on? He comes out with an application. He sits down with her and a pen, and then they start filling out my application. And I'm like, I'm eating because the hamburger's hot and I don't want to waste it. And he's like, you don't have to fill out that. Just fill that out, the address right there. And I'm like, I'm not working at Wendy's. And so they literally do this business deal together. He takes the application, and then he says, can you be here tomorrow? Now, this was a Friday, so he's asking me if I can be there on Saturday. And I'm like, I don't say anything. My mom says, he will be here. What time? And then he goes, 8 o'clock. And then he leaves, and the next thing I know, I have a job at Wendy's that I didn't plan to. So you got a job in camera from nepotism. So is what happened. I have to sort of give you my work history real quickly to bridge the job in TV.
This is a podcast. We got all the time in the world, Larry.
So anyways, I go to this Wendy's the next day, and I'm thinking, okay. And the part of the job, part of the reason I hated the job is that the uniform was black shoes, white pants, this blue and white shirt,
white pants,
wow. And this little derby, little blue and white derby. And I was like, God, this is hideous. And so I was like, I didn't want to wear that. And so we got into the restaurant. Everybody's staring at the new guy. And then he walks me outside. We go outside. And I'm like, and so he goes, here's what I got you going. You're going to take this bucket. You're going to take a handful of this sand on the ground. And you're going to take a handful of this mortar and then mix it up with water. And you take this white water brush. And I want you to brush the curb. And I'm like, seriously? He's like, yeah, you just paint all these curbs and make them white. And then he goes back inside, and I start whitewashing curbs at Wendy's. That's my first job. And that was 10 hours. I come in at the end of the day, and I tell him I'm done. And he goes, can you be here Sunday? And I said, yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, now I'm going to train to make hamburgers. He goes, I just want you to go to the Winton Road store and do the same thing. And so the first 2 days of my job was at Wendy's. So anyways.
Wow, new guy.
So I worked, my job history was I worked at Wendy's. And then the second job, I left Wendy's. I went to a company called Family Mart, which was a grocery store. There I met my wife. I was 19. She was 29. We will celebrate our 40th wedding anniversary August 12th.
Congrats.
Met her there. And then after that, I became a loss prevention manager at Montgomery Wards. I was like stopping shoplifters and employees. It was a weird job. And then I got into the food industry, and this is sort of the bridge in the gap. So I started working for a company called Astor Foods. You provided retail food items for grocery stores. And then after that, I was in the food service industry for restaurants. Well, one day I'm in my job in Thomaston, Georgia. I'm handling a Winn-Dixie, and Denny is the produce manager. And Denny is a very unique individual. He wears every day of his life. He wears you ever heard of a duster? The Cowboys.
Yeah.
Cowboys wore them when they were riding in on horses. And
yeah, it's like a trench coat almost.
Exactly like a trench coat.
Yeah.
And he wore this duster every day. It could be January, June, October. He wore the duster every day. So Denny was the guy that checked me in and would check what I was selling to the account and so forth. Anyways, one day I'm leaving on a Friday about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm saying, Denny, have a good weekend. We'll see you next week. What are you doing this weekend? When I said, what are you doing this weekend, that is the moment that changed my life forever. He turned to me and says, I'm working for ESPN. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, you're a produce manager. Well, evidently he did a little side work with ESPN, and he asked, and he told me that that's what he was doing. And I was like, oh, you got to hook me up with that. How do I get in on that? He goes, do you want to work tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to work tomorrow. He goes, well, can you pick me up tomorrow morning? And so I live in Columbus, Georgia, was sort of in the middle of the state, and he was over in Macon. So that was like a 2-hour drive there. And then the game was in Athens. It was a Georgia game, and it was another 2 hours. So I was doing the math. I was going to be an 8-hour drive that total day. And I was like, is that worth the investment? And I said, yeah, I'll pick you up. So the next morning I drive to his house in Thompson, and I get there at 5 o'clock, knock on the door, no answer. Keep knocking, no answer. He finally comes to the door at 5:20. He gets in my truck. We get on our way. He's wearing the duster. He has the
course.
duster on.
Takes 20 minutes to put on the duster.
Yeah.
I guess.
So we're driving along, and it's like 5:30. It's dark outside, and I hear him open up a drink, and I was like, it's way too early for a Coca-Cola. Like, I would never drink a Coke that early. And so we're talking about the job, and I'm asking him, what does the job entail? What am I going to be doing? And we're talking, and after about 10 minutes driving, I realized that it was not a Coke he had opened. It was a beer. Mm-hmm. And I was like, are they going to have a problem with that? And he goes, oh, they know me. It'll be fine. And so, all right. So we get all the way to Athens. We drive to the stadium. He opens the door. He gets out, and I'm trying to park. And he goes, "Oh, you can't park here. You got to find a parking spot, and then you walk back." And I'm like, "Where am I going to park?" He goes, "You just find a spot." So I've never been to Athens. I drive around for like 30 minutes, find a parking spot. I walk back to the stadium. Come to find out, there's no job for me. He doesn't have a job for me.
Interesting.
So I meet the crewer who says, his name is Slayton Aker, and he was a very well-known crewer throughout the whole country. I mean, the United States. He was a Forrest Gump type individual, and when I mean Forrest Gump, he's sort of slow, and everybody knew him as such. And but he was the crewer, and he was crewing for all the TV networks. So I met this Slayton Aker. He goes, "Danny told you had a job?" And I said, "Yes, sir." I drove him all the way from Columbus. "Well, I don't know about that, but let me see what I can do." He eventually got me a credential, got me on the field, and I ran the utility for the camera cart, the cart that goes up and down the field with the camera, and I ran. And that's how I got into this business, by a fluke, because Denny, come to find out later, had gotten a DUI, couldn't drive. And when I said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" and I guess the bell went off in his head and said, "Oh, I can work. I'll just get Larry to drive me." So his DUI sort of helped me get into the business, and ultimately started getting crewed for other gigs and other jobs.
Slayton Aker.
Slayton Aker
What a
is
name.
yeah, he was who started crewing me for all the jobs. I started doing I became this super ute, if you will. I really love the ute job. I did it for about 10 years.
So utility as in?
Like pulling cable.
Yeah, so the best way I can explain it is, if you think of a rock concert and you have the roadies, we're sort of the roadies of the sports industry.
Right.
I started becoming, how can I say this? There's not many work jobs that happen in Columbus, Georgia, and we had an event called the Steel Chainsaw Event. And it's where these guys saw the wood in half and do all the chopping and so forth. And the director was on site, and I told him, he was trying to figure out how to do the open of the show. And I was like, well, the Army has just opened up the Infantry Museum that they spent millions of dollars on. That would be really cool for you to shoot the open there. And so I knew somebody in the TV, in the local network there, that knew the general that was in charge of that. And basically, I got this general to agree to come on camera and do the open for the Steel Chainsaw event. So that was sort of a major deal for me, as far as we did the open of the show in front of the Infantry Museum with a general in the Army. And so ESPN seemed to like that, and I guess, my name came up. I started crewing. I started finding people. I was sort of in charge of the blue-gray game. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the blue-gray game.
Yeah.
So there was a football game down in Montgomery, Alabama, and it was held on Christmas Day, and this is back when the NBA didn't do any games. And I sort of became like a super ute for that, started working it and so forth. And so one year I got there, and you have to work the day before Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day. And my wife really didn't appreciate that, but that was sort of some of the things that I was doing to get the work and so forth. And so this director comes up to me. He goes, "You worked last year here, didn't you?" He said, "I did." And he said, "Thank you, great job. Hey, I got one little favor to ask of you. can you find us 24 people to work today? And I thought he was kidding. And I'm like, no, I don't think I do. And he goes, yeah, we need 24 people. And so somehow there was a breakdown in the hiring, and so he needed people to work the event. So these maintenance people were out in the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery putting the trash bags in the cans and so forth. Mm-hmm. And I was going around to these guys, and some of them were elderly Caucasian men, some were elderly African-American gentlemen, and I was going to whoever would listen to me and say, do you want to make $300? And they're like, yeah. And so I literally was stealing these employees away from the Crampton Bowl to work our event. And then now I'm training them how to put cable in and so forth. Anyways, we were able to pull it off. And so I was able to sort of get in with ESPN and got some longevity there, and that's sort of how I started with ESPN and the networks.
At what point were you able to do it full time, Larry?
So that's a great question. So when I retire, and I'm not far from it, my dream is to own a saltwater boat down in Panama City, and on the boat it will be called the Double Dip. And so everybody sort of knows me as the guy that double dipped, meaning I'd always had the food industry job, mm-hmm. and then I had the TV job. And so how people started finding out about that is I'd be running in the stadium with the camera, and then a supervisor that worked with me in the food industry would sort of walk by me and do a double take, and was that Larry? And it's like, he works for us. And so that sort of is where, and then I'd go to a sales meet, and they're like, did I see you at the Braves game? I'm like, I don't think that was me. And after a while, you couldn't, I couldn't hide it anymore. Yeah. It was just, but I've always double dipped. I'll tell you I'll try to keep this brief. I'll tell you a quick story. I was on Sundays, you have to have the food orders in on your laptop by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All Braves games started at 1:30. On this particular day, I always make sure my customers give me the orders the night before or early in the morning on Sunday. On this particular day, I had somebody very late. They call me up about 3 o'clock, and I look down at my phone. I'm in the third base dugout with a camera on sticks, and I'm shooting Chipper Jones. And they call me, and I answer, and I'm like, hello? You need to place an order? What do you need? And so I'm literally have a bag by me. I pull the laptop out. I open the laptop. I go back to the framing on Chipper to make sure he's framed up. The computer's coming up. How many French fries do you need? And I'm literally keying in a food order on a laptop on the ground while I'm shooting Chipper Jones. That's a true story. So that's that's when it was really bad. So,
but that's why we get along, Larry, because you work your ass off.
You're a hustler, man.
You're a hustler, yeah. Just like the no dunks, the starters, the basketball Jones, the free agents crew. So that's why we've always seen eye to eye.
It like I said, you won't find anybody else really in the industry that did what I did. Honestly,
I'm assuming no. I'm assuming there's no chance. There's nobody double dipping like you.
I don't recommend it to anybody, and to be quite honest with you, not only until literally recently, really this year, is I'm not doing anything else but TV, and it really has been the best couple of months of my life.
Nice.
It has been such a joy just to concentrate and focus on that and do only that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, since you brought up Chipper Jones, you came in here wearing this shirt. Let me just ask you about that so I don't forget about it. It's Pour Larry a Crown on your shirt.
So
it's a Braves shirt, Braves theme shirt that they came out with.
I was not working this game. I was still traveling doing hockey. I was doing hockey this year, traveling around with Wayne Gretzky. That was pretty cool. But on this night, I guess they had Chipper, Jeff Francoeur, they had all the guys in the booth, and they were calling the game. And on this particular game, there was a walk-off home run. Ozzie Albies walked it off and hit a home run. And the call came from Francoeur, pour Larry a crown. And so I guess they ran with it, and then the next day, if you brought your driver's license and your name was Larry, you got a free crown, which that's a pretty cool.
Free bottle of Crown.
I don't think it was a bottle of Crown. I think it was a shot glass of it.
And Larry, it had nothing to do with any Brave on the field. It had to do with Chipper.
I thought they were talking about me.
Oh. No, Chipper Jones' name is.
No, that's so Chipper's Jones' name is Larry Wayne Jones, and I'm Larry Wayne French. So,
okay. So Jeff was saying it for Larry Wayne.
For Larry Wayne, yeah.
Not this Larry Wayne.
Not this Larry Wayne.
But it's a cool shirt.
I asked for one from Peter Moylan, but evidently he was out, so I had to order this.
Well, you said to Larry Wayne. You just mentioned Wayne Gretzky being with him because he's doing the NHL broadcasts, and he's, we're Canadian here, so I have to ask about Wayne. How was it being with Wayne on the road and doing hockey in general?
So this year was great. So leading into the hockey season or the Stanley Cup playoffs, when you're on the crew, everybody is talking to each other about where are we going to end up? What are the two cities we're going to end up? Are we going to end up in Winnipeg?
Yeah, Canadians say it that way as well.
Everybody was just dreading.
Am I right, Joel? Would you not want to go to Winnipeg if there's any Canadian hockey city? It's got to be Winnipeg.
I could do without Winnipeg. I'm sorry, I could do without Winnipeg.
Winnipeg or Ottawa? Which one would you least not want to go to? Both Larry and Joel. I can ask that. Which one would you?
I'm going to Ottawa for sure.
Yeah.
Like no contest.
Yeah, Winnipeg's cold. So you didn't have to go to Winnipeg.
Yeah, so we didn't have to go to Winnipeg. So like as these games are being played, you're in the studio and you're rooting for certain teams, right? It's not bleeding over to the talent on the set. They're all neutral. But as we got further and further into the season, there at the very end, you realize that you're possibly going to go to Las Vegas and you're possibly going to go to Fort Lauderdale. And when that happened, it was just like the most euphoric feeling in the studio to know those are the cities that we were going. And so it was the greatest. I think it was 20 days, and it was the greatest 20 days, seriously, of my entire career as far as who you worked with, the venues we worked in, the weather, just everybody getting along. We had a day off in Vegas. We had a day off in Fort Lauderdale. I had never been to Fort Lauderdale. We're walking down the strip. Charles Barkley is walking down the strip with his bag. He bought some stuff. Everybody's taking pictures with him. Ran into Biz on the strip. So it was a great trip. And to top it off, my birthday was on the trip, and my birthday fell on the day the Las Vegas clinched it and won it. And after the broadcast, we're all shutting off cameras. Everybody's taking pictures, and everybody's hugging. Wayne Gretzky walks over to me, sticks his hand out, and says, "Happy birthday, Larry." Oh. And I was like, I didn't even know he knew my name, and he walked all the way across the set to shake my hand, and then I got a great picture with him, and that made the trip. That was the icing on the cake. So yeah, hockey this year was a phenomenal trip.
What a legend!
It was, I don't know. It was, it doesn't happen like that every day, and it was. He's a joy to work with, and he's very professional. He's very old school, Yeah. But he's very courteous with his time, and he loves signing autographs on occasion. He's very hospitable to people that are around the set, and it's really cool to be around those people. They're rock stars, and it's really cool to watch that.
All right, so moving from where you were as a super ute, that's a great term, by the way, just being the utility guy.
Super ute.
The Ben Zobrist, the Tony Phillips, or whatever. Moving into in-house entertainment is where you worked, right? You worked there for a long time. What does Atlanta Braves in-house entertainment entail?
So, how I got into it real
Yeah, no
briefly
problem.
is that became break number 3 and 4. Break number 2 was the ESPN stuff. Break 3 and 4 was when I got a phone call from a tape op. His name was Josh, and he said, "Hey, can you come over here and run camera for a Maggiano's lunch with the Braves?" Basically, the Braves had this thing where the players would come to Maggiano's restaurant. They were up there eating. People would come to the stand and say, "Can you explain how the hot box works?" And these players didn't want to be there. It was just like an hour-long thing with the season ticket holders. And so this was the first job I had where I was going to have to shoot 4 different players and not screw it up when they were answering the question. So I had to sort of be on guard to see where the question was going.
Right.
I did that. I didn't mess it up. And we packed the truck up, and the event was successful.
Did you have anything from Maggiano's?
I think I did. I think they did give us a to-go box to leave. Now that you just said that, I do.
You talk food. You're speaking our language. I know Joel's over there taking notes over there. Maggiano's.
Oh, yeah.
Wendy's. Well,
What's Maggiano's? I've never been. What kind of restaurant is it? Italian?
It was Maggiano's in Buckhead.
Yeah, it's Italian food chain. It's
Okay.
definitely a step up from Olive Garden. Good step up.
Yeah, definitely a step up.
But it's a fast food chain. Back to Wendy's really quickly because our man Joel is a fast food connoisseur. Have you ever seen anyone in a Wendy's with white pants, a little derby hat? I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. Obviously, it can't.
I thought Wendy's colors were black and almost maroon.
Yeah, black and red.
Yeah, no, back then it was a very strict dress code, like the white pants were in. And I'm glad you brought up Wendy's because at the very end of this, I have a really sad Wendy's story to share with you with a coworker. I got to share this with you.
Hey, I'll make that note. We can end on a sad note.
Hazel and Wendy's. You'll ask me about Hazel and Wendy's.
No problem. All right, so back to Maggiano's. You got your to-go box.
So I got the to-go box. We got the event. We got it in the can, and the truck drives away, and we're all going home. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm leaving. I'm not gone 5 minutes. Josh calls me back. I'm like, what did I mess up? I said, hello. Josh says, hey, the Braves just called me. They're looking for a camera operator. I'm like, you're kidding. He goes, nope. He goes, here's the phone number. Give her a call. Her name is Jennifer. I call her. I'm literally driving 7585 south, and she says, oh, yeah, what kind of experience do you have? Well, you can either tell her the truth or tell her the truth. And the truth was I had recently shot an event for the Braves at a restaurant called Maggiano's, and it was all the players. And, yeah, I have experience. She says, well, next time you're in the area, can you come over and we'll talk to you? I can come over right now. She goes, no, whenever you're in the area. I said, I'm in the Grady Curve. I'm literally – she goes, oh, really? And – okay, well, I'll meet you down in the players' parking lot. Literally 10 minutes from doing the Maggiano's, I'm driving in the Braves parking lot. I go in the security. I meet her. We fill out the paperwork, and I'm now working as a camera operator for Braves Vision.
Wow.
That was break 3 and 4, and it happened on the very same day. And the way that job works is you're sort of a temporary hire. You're brought in, you run camera, and then at the end of the season, they don't go to the World Series. You're sort of terminated. You're let go. I mean, it's just like a temporary position,
right.
And then you have to rehire. You have to rehire for the next season. And so when I started, I ran the hard camera on high first, and I shot fan shots and so forth.
So way above first base, kind of thing.
Above first base. Yeah. So every position has a name.
Yeah.
My experience at the Braves was phenomenal. I had the best manager in the world, Matt Monomer, and he set me up for success.
So what year is this?
This would have been 2006, 2008. Okay. So I start working for them. So I'm going through that process of getting hired, doing a season, and then getting fired. Okay. So we do that for 3 or 4 years. And then one year, every time you're hired, we have an orientation meeting. And so we come to the orientation meeting, and it's in the cafeteria at the old Turner Field. And I walk in, and everybody is sitting there, and there's this brand new camera on the table. It's got a brand new wide-angle lens. It's got this RF receiver on the back. And I come up, and I ask another guy that I work with, I said, what the heck is that? He goes, "That's the RF camera. They just bought it. I think they're going to ask you to run it." And in that moment, it was like, oh.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, in that moment, I knew everything was going to change. I knew what Matt was wanting to do with that thing, and I knew what I wanted to do with that thing. And the RF camera, that moment changed my life. It was I've been a big critic about movies. I think movies today are horrible. I just don't like movies. And I've always felt like I would be a good screenplay writer, or I could make a good movie. And looking at the camera, to me, made me that director. Because if you look at an RF camera, you get to do everything. You control the audio, you control the video, you write the script. Everything that you shoot, you're sort of in charge of. If I do a walk-off home run, the director has no time to tell me what to do. I'm doing it, and then he's along for the ride. So that was sort of the start of a lot of things. You start well, just to explain how that worked. The RF camera had a signal or a feed for the big screen. So if you're in the stands, we shoot kiss cam. I'm running around shooting fans in the stands. But at the same time, the network had my feed. So sort of they had a free camera.
Right.
And so if there was a walk-off home run, I would run out there and shoot it, and it would be broadcast on the big screen. Well, at the same time, network is using my feed, and they're showing that on screens all over the world. And so you have to sort of be in conjunction with the director to know what to do and what not to do, so you don't whip off the shot while you're live. So I actually shot for network for 7 years without any comms or knowing I was on the air for the network.
So
Wow.
You didn't have an earpiece.
I didn't have an earpiece, and the way it worked, and I know he doesn't mind, he's the same director, Mike Miller. He's a phenomenal director, one of the most experienced directors in the country. He would be sitting in the cafeteria eating his lunch, and I would come in the cafeteria, and I would walk by him, and I'd have a drink, and then he'd look at me, and he'd go, "Same thing," and I'd go, "Same thing." And what that meant was we had this unspoken rule that we knew that I would stay on the shot going into the dugout until the player walked down the steps, and I knew that's when he was going to cut off my shot. So every now and then he would say something different, and we'd have this little lunch pass by. Like I would go by him, he'd be sitting there. He'd go, "Hey, how about running around the other way on that pitcher tonight?" And it was sort of an unspoken rule.
Kind of a blessing they didn't have comms or an earpiece, right? Because then
You're exactly right.
You're the director.
And that still holds true today. When I shoot baseball games, what we call the away side or the visiting team, they have my feed, and so just this past weekend, I've shot for them, and they use that camera, and you just sort of have to communicate with them, and they know when to cut off my shot. So they sort of have a free camera. The away side has a free camera and has had that for a long time.
Fantastic stuff.
So the in-house is in-house would be when you go to a stadium, anything, basketball, hockey, baseball. When there's a break in the action, if there's a commercial or there's a TV timeout, that's when entertainment kicks in and they start doing the stuff on the big screen. And it's designed to keep your attention while you're waiting on the commercial to end.
So yeah, you started not working specifically on the broadcast that everyone sees at TV at.
Correct.
At home,
Yeah.
you're doing everything for the in-house production.
Correct.
For a long period of time.
A long period of time.
Our next partner is pretty cool. I have to say, it's the first thing I put in my body every single day. I'm talking, of course, about Athletic Greens. If you're looking to get better gut health, more energy, or a stronger immune system in a really easy, natural way, you gotta check out Athletic Greens. I hate pills, especially taking multiples. Ugh. I'm way more into drinking one single elixir. Elixir, yeah. Very Dungeons and Dragons. With Athletic Greens, you can get rid of all those extra vitamin bottles and drink a single tasty beverage that goes down easy and feels super refreshing first thing in the morning. you'll actually really enjoy getting your daily vitamins. And I'm not kidding. I actually do find it refreshing, revitalizing even, first thing in the morning when I drink my Athletic Greens. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, and probiotics. And adaptogens. I almost forgot the adaptogens. All those things will help you start your day off right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. That's pretty much all the things. AG1 is a small micro habit with big benefits. It's a one thing you can do every single day to take great care of yourself without even thinking about it. And it costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's way cheaper than that cold brew habit of yours. Yeah. No judgment here because I also have a coffee habit. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into the cold and flu season. I'm sorry to be a Stark over here, but winter is coming. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/nodunks. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/nodunks to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Any favorite moments from there that stand out?
So when I started, we got that RF camera, and Matt Montemayor, one day I came into work and he goes, "Hey, are you scared of heights?" And I'm like, "I am. Absolutely I am. Don't ask me to do anything up in the upper deck." He's like, give me your social security number. And I'm like, what do you need that for? And so I give him my social security number, and he goes, "Hey, I want you to come in at 10 o'clock tomorrow and I'll fill you in." And I'm like, all right. So I go home. I come back the next day at 10. I have no idea what's going on. And he goes, "Hey, you checked out. You're not a terrorist. So do you want to fly in a Black Hawk over the stadium?" And I'm like, what are you talking about?
No,
he goes, "Well,
you're not allowed to talk about that. Hence the alert on your computer."
That's right. That's exactly what just happened. And so, yeah, basically I go. His plan is for me. It was Memorial Day, and they have they do the American flag on the field. His envision was on the flyover for me to shoot the flag from the helicopter and show that as a live shot on the big screen.
Oh,
very ambitious. I was so excited and stoked about this.
a little nervous.
A little nervous. I'm petrified of heights. And so I get to I get to Dobbins. I meet the lieutenant, and we go out to the tarmac, and there's these 4 Black Hawk helicopters sitting there. And so I've got the what's called a Vericam. It's a RF camera, but it has tape capacity on it. It's got a P2 card in it, and I can tape stuff. So they're going through all the pre-flight check stuff, and they've got this glass beaker that's 4 foot high. They're checking the fuel and making sure everything is good. And I'm out there like with the camera, like filming planes landing. And the lieutenant comes up. He says, "Larry, this is a high security airport, and you're not supposed to be shooting those AWACS taking off. If you would stop doing that." I'm sorry about that. And so I stopped shooting the high level security AWACS that were taking off. So we load up in the Black Hawk.
Is that a term for a plane?
AWACS is, yes, it is a terminology.
Oh.
It's one of those planes that has that, it looks like a big round saucer on the top.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a sonar or radar, some type of thing to do high altitude stuff.
All right.
So we get in the Black Hawks, and then all of a sudden, the Black Hawk I get into, they take out all the seats in the middle, right? So it's just an open cargo area, and then I can see the pilot sitting there. Well, all these pilots are weekend warriors. They're National Guard. They had to earn time to do this flyover, and they're not paid for it. That's what it was explained to me. So we get in the helicopter, and I have a hat on, and I put the hat on backwards, and then the guy straps me in to the helicopter, and then he gets back in the front. So I've got this $80,000 camera that I have no strap or anything. I'm just like holding it, and then I kind of realized the seat belts are not that tight. They're like a go-kart, like a. Yeah. I'm like, holy cow. So I'm making sure that I'm good. So anyways, all of a sudden they crank this Black Hawk up, the rotors start turning, and all 4 of the helicopters take off at the same time. And now we're hovering about 4 foot, and bam, we take off. And about this time I realized that we're going about 100 miles an hour, and this wind, like, if I lean out a little bit out the window, it would have ripped my hat off. So now I'm like trying to figure out how am I going to take the camera shot of the field. I got to lean away from the helicopter to get past the metal part of the helicopter. And so I figured out, I got it, and then now we're heading toward the field. And the way this works is they have a guy that's on the field with like a walkie-talkie, and he's singing the national anthem as the pilot's listening. So they know about how far out they are. Right. So national anthem, is like 2.5 minutes? That's the over and under at a Super Bowl.
Less.
2:30 or something. So we're going along there, flying, beautiful day, and Memorial Day, and I hear the pilot go, "Man, we are early." And so all of a sudden we start banking, like this steep bank, and I'm like, I just hold the camera in my seat, and we're banking. All 4 choppers are like in this heavy bank. It's like coming in, like you're attacking. And we do like 3 loops, circles in this same place. And I'll never forget the pilot go, "I bet everybody in Piedmont Park's dumping their pot right now." And I thought, wow, that's pretty crazy. So all of a sudden we start heading out, and I can see the stadium up ahead, right? And I'm like, man, this is cool. And we're just sort of at a certain speed, and we're coming along. And then all of a sudden we're crossing the stadium, and I got the camera out. I'm shooting the flag, and I can see the flag go underneath me. And at the same time, I'm recording. I'm recording at the same time. And
you taking any orders for French fries?
No, at this time I'm not. I know that's impossible. Okay. And so we're flying over the stadium, and I look at the big screen because I'm pointing at the flag, and I can see the big screen, and I'm looking, and the big screen is showing a shot of somebody on the field. And I'm like, and then we pass by, and I'm like, well, maybe he used it, and I just didn't catch it. So anyways, we land. We go back to the stadium. I think I catch the last in, and I walk in with the camera. And unfortunately, the RF signal was what's called pixelating. It was pixelating. It was unusable, and so we couldn't use the shot. But that was still a highlight.
Did they bank it?
They banked it. Yeah, we used it. We showed it at a different day. They showed it, and they incorporated it in the video. Okay. I'm a big Leonard Skinner fan. We used to have concert series at the stadium, and so I was able to shoot Leonard Skinner in the stadium. That was great. You guys are familiar with Kiss Cam. One year, Jimmy Carter and Rosalind Carter, the president, they come to a lot of the games, and
I was at that game.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Your shot must have. It was on the big screen.
So yeah, this was about a little after he had made public his health issues, and you're thinking, is this the last time he's going to come to the game? And so on this night, I started texting the network and then the in-house, and I was like, hey, here's my idea. Why don't first of all, I had to find out whether they were doing Kiss Cam that night. And I think they put it together after I started texting. And so the first thing I had to do, and I knew the Secret Service guys because I had gotten a Secret Service pin from them earlier. And I just asked his permission to talk to the president about doing Kiss Cam. And he says, yeah, go ahead. So I go up to Jimmy Carter, and I was like, Mr. Carter, and I had told him a story about where when I was 15 years old, he was running for president, that he threw some softballs at a church function that they videotaped for the election, like election coverage. Mm-hmm. And I snuck in line to bat against him. He was going to throw softballs to 3 people, and I slid in line to be the third person. And so he's throwing softballs, And so he throws one, I hit it to the third baseman. He throws a second one, and I hit it to the shortstop. He throws a third one, and I literally take his ear off. And while the ball is passing by him, you can hear the photographer's cameras going, and then they were like, that's it, we're done. And then everybody gets off the field. But I had told him that story, and I had sent him a picture of the group picture that he took, and he signed it. I think he signed it. I don't know if it was a stamp, but I think he signed it and sent it back. But
and the Secret Service still let him talk to you.
Yes,
Wow.
exactly.
That's pretty cool.
And so I asked him, I said, hey, can we do Kiss Cam with you and Rosalind? And he's like, he looked at Rosalind and he said, what'd he say? And she goes, Kiss Cam, Kiss Cam. And he's like, yeah, and he gives me the thumbs up. So I tell everybody that it's a thumbs up, and then everybody, okay, Kiss Cam next inning. And so, they're counting it down. And so we show all the other fans in the stands, right? He's going to be the last one on the Kiss Cam. And they show about 10 couples, and then all of a sudden, ready 9, take 9. And then I've got the tally light in the camera. I'm live, and then I'm shooting the two of them, and they kiss, and the stadium goes bonkers. And, moments like that, then they come on ESPN on the top 10 plays of the night and replays and so forth. So that was a great moment. I'm going to have to take claim to something that I invented, and they might be disputed, but you're familiar with Kiss Cam. Mm-hmm. You're familiar with Hug Cam?
It's just a standard hug. I actually am not. It doesn't really.
So let me tell you
sorry,
how.
Sorry to piss on your invention.
No, it's okay. Not a lot of people know that I invented it. So Freddie Freeman was with the team, and he was a big hugger. He hugged everybody. He hugged other players and so forth. And so one day I just went up to Matt and I said, we should do Hug Cam. And he's like, yeah, that's not a bad idea, Larry. And I think he regretted having to say, that's not a bad idea, Larry. I don't think he wanted to give me credit, but we started that, and that was like 10 years ago, and they still do it. And I think a lot of other teams do the Hug Cam. So I'm the Hug Cam.
So it's the same. It's the same idea. Two people on camera.
2 people on camera giving a hug, and then they end the shot every game with a visiting fan and a home fan hugging.
Oh, I didn't realize
that's sort
that.
of a. Other moments, Bill Murray was at a game one day, and he was on the Cubs side, and he was with his brother, and the network. I think it was Chip Carey. I think it was Chip at the time. He said, "Hey, they saw him on camera. Hey, we'd love to do an interview with him." And so I just go up to Bill Murray and I said, "Hey, do you mind coming upstairs?" And he goes, I just ordered some food, me and my brother, and we're going to eat right here. And I was like, well, we got food upstairs. And then he's like, yeah, we're just going to stay here. And then so they were like staying on me about him coming up. And then so, he was sitting there another couple of outs, and I was like, they really want you to come up. If you'll go up there and do the interview, they're going to give me the day off tomorrow. He's like, all right. And so him and his brother reluctantly walk up. I'm walking up behind him. He comes up and he does the interview. I take a picture with him, and he goes, they going to give you the day off tomorrow? And I was like, I just made that up. So that was...
there's the truth, and then there's the truth.
And there's the truth. And then, it's from there, the walk-offs and the feeds that the network had from the RF is sort of how I sort of growing as for getting recognition and getting other jobs.
So then you moved over via another break to network TV. Did you like going to network TV? And by that I mean in studio, working for Turner Broadcasting that had a bunch of other properties.
Yeah. So my fondest memories are really of Braves Vision because how can I say this? Like, you make a mistake on network television, it's sort of unforgiving. You make a
except for JD. Yeah.
But I think the big screen is a little bit less forgiving. You know what? I gotta share this real quickly. I didn't write it down, and I just thought of it. So I'm using this P2 camera, or the RF camera, and Billy Wagner is the reliever for the Braves, and so I'm shooting him as he's at the end of the game. He's won the game, and I'm shooting all the players high-fiving as they're walking down. Right, I'm out on the field, and everybody's high-fiving, and so every time the tally light works on the camera, it's recording. There's a recording on the card, on the P2 card. So let's say that was a Friday game. I shot that, and then at the end of the game, we all go home. The next day, we have the similar situation. A different reliever is relieved. Braves win. I run out on the field. I'm getting them high-fiving. Accidentally, I have the camera on my shoulder, and accidentally somehow I hit the record button, and it pulls up on the card what I reported the previous day. So for about 5 seconds, everybody in the stadium saw Billy Wagner again on the big screen. And I'm sure everybody was like, wait, what just happened? And then after about 5 seconds, it goes back to my actual camera. And I think fans were like, what the heck just happened? And nobody upstairs, like they were talking in the studio, and I could hear Matt Martin say, wait, what? What happened? And so and then he looked at it later and it's like, oh. And he always does this. Whenever I screw up, he'll go, oh. And he'll always give me one of those. So,
but network TV, less forgiving.
Yeah, less forgiving.
It's there forever.
It's there forever.
So what properties did you work on when we're talking Turner Broadcasting?
You talking about networks?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, right?
Name it. I worked on them. I started with. I did the very last ABC sports production. It was at Eastlake.
Oh, okay. So we're outside Turner. You just did.
Yeah, I'm a freelancer
everywhere
now. So at this time, you've established all your contacts with so many different entities: NBC Sports, ABC, CBS, Outdoor Network. Back then, there was the Speed Channel. Did a lot of stuff with the Speed Channel. Back when DirecTV was, you could buy a driver and then have his. You could buy a certain driver's look for the entire day.
Yeah.
And then you could have the inboard camera, his pit camera, and so forth. Did a lot of stuff. For Fox. Fox was a big one that I worked for, but I've done everything from a couple of World Series, a couple of Super Bowls to the cornhole championship at the World Congress Center. So everything that you can think of, there is a cornhole championship.
Hey man, I watch it. I sometimes tune into ESPN and watch it.
There's some
talented
weird
cornholers
stuff going on TV right now. There's, I'm not saying pickleball is weird.
Hey, watch it, Larry.
No, I'm not. I know everybody that I talk to about pickleball has the strong reaction like you do. They believe in their pickleball.
And there's nothing wrong with cornhole. I get glued to it.
It's weirdly compelling.
Yeah.
Cornhole. It's like darts, kind of. Darts is fun to watch too.
Right.
So, you said that they filmed that in the Congress Center, so that's a huge convention center here in Georgia.
Yeah, it was the weekend of the SEC championship, and
I didn't know I'd be asking about cornhole today, Larry, but I got no problem asking about cornhole. I didn't think it would be in a convention center, but why wouldn't it be in a convention center?
And like on that weekend, somehow I didn't get asked to do the SEC championship, and I did. I got asked, like, sometimes you get directed to what you call a lesser event than the more important event, if you will. And I know my friends were like, you work in the SEC championship weekend? I said, I sure am. They never knew, there was a guy tossing a bag and you had like a tight shot of the hole on the board and the bag going through the hole. So, I'm working the SEC championship weekend.
So, would you classify that as one of your top 5 moments in TV?
That one was not.
Okay.
So the top.
You want to go
five,
top 5?
Yeah.
You got a top 5 list for us?
Let's do top 5.
Well, we got a top 5 sting for us.
Of course
Let's do it.
Top 5, top 5, top 5. Top 5, top 5, top 5.
Here are Larry French's top 5 moments in TV from behind the camera. We're spanning a long, long career here, Larry. You take us wherever you want to go.
It's the top five, the fifth one, and at the time it was the number one. But I had gotten a call from a Fox director, Matt Gangle. He worked with me a lot in Atlanta, and he called me up and said, "Hey, can you work at Yankee Stadium Saturday?" And I was like, "Yankee Stadium?" And for a minute, I was going to say, "No, I'm busy." I was nervous, and I was like, "Yeah, I guess I could." And he goes, "Yeah, it's Alex Rodriguez's last game. We'd like for you to work for us for Alex Rodriguez's last game." And so they asked me late, and we couldn't get a flight on Friday. I flew in on Saturday and met with Matt, and he said, "The only thing that I want you to do is when he comes to home plate, he's going to tip his hat to the crowd. I want you to be 2 feet from him when that happens." And you can Google that moment, because I do this little 360 turn at the home plate, and I actually walk over home plate. The signal passes through my body. The antenna is up in the behind home plate, and the signal actually pixelates. And I use the word pixelate. It actually breaks up a little bit. But yeah, that was the moment. Side story to that is when he came out of pregame, they gave him a cake. The Yankees gave him a cake, and it was all production. We came on the air at 7. It was a special 1-hour pregame show. We came on at 7. At 7 o'clock, a storm front started moving in, and the bottom dropped out about 30 seconds of us coming on the air. And while I'm shooting Alex Rodriguez, there was sort of a bolt of lightning on the horizon, and the bolt of lightning looked like it hit his head as you're looking at the camera shot. So the rain starts pouring down. We all run into the dugout, and there's so many rules at Yankee Stadium. You can't go in the dugout. You can't work past this first base line. And next thing, just everything unraveled. Like Alex Rodriguez, the rain stopped. He had to warm up and stretch. He was running in right field. I wasn't supposed to go to right field. I ran out there. Yankee security is running after me. "You can't be out there. You can't be out there." And so I'm shooting him as he's coming back, and we get the shot. So I looked at somebody, a beat writer, and I was like talking about the lightning striking. I was like, God hates Alex Rodriguez, because it's like everything came apart right in this big celebration. And so the next day I'm in the hotel lobby, and I'm leaving. I'm getting ready to take my flight back home. And I don't know if it was New York Post or some publication. And right there on the cover of the newspaper, it said, "God hates Alex Rodriguez." I swear to God, I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's what I said. So that was moment number 5.
Whoa, what a headline. I mean,
yeah,
they're really going for it with that headline.
It was. I never forget that. It's like, I said that yesterday. So number 4,
Yeah.
same director. He gives me a call and says, "Hey, you're available to go to Phillie Saturday. Bryce Harper it's his first game as a Phillie." And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, great." And I wasn't a big Bryce Harper fan, but it was a big deal, big moment in baseball. And so I positioned myself in one of the dugouts for home runs. So when a home run's hit, for Fox, they want me to run all the way to third base and then run down the baseline with the player as he goes into the dugout. And so you're sitting there. I can't remember what inning it is, but he comes to bat, and boom, there it goes. His first home run is a Phillie. I'm on third base, and there me and Bryce running down from third base to home. I follow him to the dugout. He comes out and does a curtain call, and pretty cool moment.
So do you like him now?
Real quickly, when he played for a different team, I was working a Fox game, and we had a stand-up that has already been planned.
Yeah.
And we were coming on the air with a stand-up, and all of a sudden, one of the cameras said, "Oh, Bryce is coming up in the dugout." And they said, "Camera 9, shoot Bryce." And then literally they were counting down live on the air. He says, 5, 4. And I turned from the stand-up position to a live shot of Bryce coming up the dugout steps. And I'm shooting in, and he's looking at my lens, and he says, "Don't shoot me." Now I have a tally light. I'm shooting him, and then he's expecting me to whip away from him, and I can't because I'm on the air. And he looks at me again like, "Don't shoot me." And next thing I know, his hand's reaching up. He grabs my lens, and he pushes the lens down. I'm live on the air. Got the tally light. And then he releases the camera. I go up, and he walks away from me, and then they cut off my shot. We go to commercial, and the director says, "Hey, Larry, was that a bit?" I was like, "No, that was not a bit." So,
Oh man.
yeah, he was.
You're allowed. You're allowed to dislike him.
Right. Somebody I do like immensely would be Freddie Freeman. Highlight number 3 would be Freddie coming back to the Braves as a Dodger. And so we did an interview with him. Kelly Kroll was the sideline reporter. And it was me, Kelly, and Freddie on the grass there, and we did the interview. And it was a long interview, and it was heartfelt. And the stadium got just remarkably quiet, listening to his thoughts, and he was in a tough place at that time. His decision and why he did it. So just that meant a lot to me, the whole interview, because the interview was lengthy and it was heartfelt on his end.
That was a memorable weekend.
It was a memorable weekend, and everybody had it on their calendar, waiting on him to come back. Number 2 is going back a ways. This was sort of as I was running the RF camera for the Braves, and I was getting some not publicity, but some of the replays were being shown nationally. John Smoltz had just gotten his 3,000th strikeout, and I had just started running the RF, and the 3,000th strikeout happened. I think there was either 1 or 2 outs in the inning, and finally got his 3rd out, and he came over to the dugout to come in, and I just made the decision to walk out there and sort of catch him coming off the field. And so he saw me coming at him, and I guess he stopped, and he took his hat off, and he waved at the crowd, and he started doing this counterclockwise rotation. And I was going to go with him, and then I started going the same direction he is, and he changed direction. So he's going counter, I'm going clockwise, and it sort of produced this really cool, like, 360 shot. And ESPN had it on that day, and that was my first ESPN replay. And I think I stayed up till 4 a.m. to watch ESPN 5 times to see the replay. So that was cool. Really cool. And then my top memory is just really of the final season for Chipper Jones. That was such a great season because every homestand, the other teams were recognizing Chipper. They were giving him gifts at home plate. It just every weekend, Chipper Jones, it just was a remarkable. So they had a bobblehead night for Chipper Jones in his final season, and it's probably the number one replay that I like is him hitting a home run and walking it off on bobblehead night. And I am meeting him at third base, and it's sort of an iconic video. It's where he tosses his helmet toward the pitcher's mound, and then he goes in, and it's really, network had it live, and then it was a big deal on ESPN and all the networks. And then his final game, we shot his final game. He had his parents in the front stands, and I sort of was really, really close, way too close with the camera, and just showing them hugging and kissing and so forth. But on the last inning that he ran out on the field, the players do the thing where they stop and let him run out there by himself, and he didn't realize that the players had stopped. And so it was that moment that the stadium could recognize him as this a moment. And the director, Matt, said, "Larry, get out there." And so I'm running out there, and it's just me and Chipper 3 feet away, and the crowd is recognizing he's tipping his hat, and I'm sort of doing this 360 around him. So it was a cool moment. It was to be blessed to be on the field, to be on the baseball field. I'm 61 years old, and I'm running around with these players on the field to this day. It really is. I to this day can't believe I do it. I pinch myself, and I respect it, and I've always shot to try to give the fan that point of view. I shoot what I'd like to see if I'm sitting at home. I'd like to see what the fabric of the stitching looks like on the back of somebody's jersey on a walk-off home run. You can always get a wide shot, but you can never be absolutely where you can reach out and touch them, and I sort of try to do that when I shoot. is give people a feeling that they're right there. So that's the top 5.
We could have done top 100. I mean, we've also embedded plenty of moments here, throughout this interview that, you've seen a lot, Larry. And the World Series didn't make it, I guess, because they were on the road.
Yeah, they were on the road. I did a lot of coverage for the World Series for Fox. Really, where my wheelhouse is, and that is with the fans. And so they had me when Fox was here with their set in the Battery. They had me out in the Battery, and so that to me was phenomenal.
The Battery, the area around Truist Park.
Yeah, the Battery
here
is
in Atlanta.
Such a phenomenal place. If you live in the Atlanta area and you haven't been to a game, I encourage people all the time, just go down to the Battery. Even if you don't have tickets, just go down there. A lot of people will just sit on the lawn. They have a little green space there and just watch the game with hundreds of other fans. And if we're fortunate enough to go to the World Series again, that's where a lot of people end up that don't have tickets, is in that green space in the Battery.
Yeah, so it's just watching on a big screen. It's like, for basketball fans, it's Jurassic Park in Toronto. It's a great experience. What's up with the Uber situation there in Truist Park? I know you're a driver, so you never have to deal with that, but there's got to be people talking about it. When people try and leave and try and get a ride share, get a car out of there to get an Uber, to get a Lyft, they don't come. It's like the signal's breaking up. They literally don't show up.
We did not plan this conversation at all.
No.
So I started hearing about this from different type of people. Like, they would, they'd see me with the camera on and a T-shirt, and they go, "Hey man, y'all got to fix that Uber situation over there, or we're not going to come to the game."
Yes.
So for you to bring that up, so on my Facebook page is a picture, and it's of a famous baseball player that used to pitch for us, and we're all leaving the parking lot, and this individual is waiting on an Uber ride, and it's Craig Kimbrel.
Really?
And Craig just pitched, and I think he beat us that day. He was with, I can't remember if he was with, I don't remember who he was with. Maybe, I don't know. I don't remember who he was with, but he was with the other team. And we're all walking up the hill to go to the media parking lot, and there's Craig looking at his phone, and we're like, "The hell are you doing out here?" "Wait, my damn Uber." And so, it affected. So I didn't realize this was a thing until
Every time. Literally every time. 4 years. I'm so surprised.
It's a conspiracy. It's the Battery. The businesses in the Battery want you to stay after the game,
I'm buying it.
They jam a signal like Larry French's body blocking that RF signal.
Right.
That's what they do. It's I mean, Matt, you were there for what, 3 extra hours because you couldn't get an Uber the last time?
Well, no, that's because I gave up.
Well, that's what I mean. You went bowling. You stayed in the Battery.
Yes,
spending all your extra money. Yeah.
Yes.
There's not a night that goes by, because we're fortunate. We have really good parking, TV production, but there's not a night that goes by when we're walking across that there are, I wouldn't say 100 people, but there are a lot of people that are standing out there looking at their phones.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're waiting on some type of ride.
Craig Kimbrel can't get a car.
Craig Kimbrel can't even get a car.
You're an amazing camera person with fans. There's absolutely no doubt about that, and that's why JD had you on fan duty when we did our live shows in Toronto.
Oh, totally.
Now, probably like the same amount of people waiting for an Uber in terms of fans for our show. You didn't have to deal with too many people there, Larry. But I'm surprised you didn't say that week in Toronto for the Toronto All-Star game.
Yeah,
didn't make your top 5. Didn't even level up to the last month of your hockey coverage. I'm kidding.
No. So driving up here, like last night, I didn't know what I was going to wear. So I go to my closet, and for an hour, I go through all my T-shirts. And I'm proud to say I have 18 starter shirts.
Wow. Oh my goodness. We had that many?
And I have...
What a waste.
I have 3 that still have the tags on them. And then...
What a waste.
So I had this whole... And I have them in my vehicle right outside here. I have all the shirts. And in that stack of shirts that would be the choices of what I was going to wear today are 3 Toronto All-Star Game shirts. and I also have the Toronto All-Star hat. So, no, those were some of the greatest memories. We're walking the streets of Toronto, me and another camera operator. His name is Todd, and we were working together. And we leave the hotel one day to go to work, and no, I'm saying this is about the fifth day, and we're walking along the sidewalk, and this is gonna sound horrible, and I'm like, this couple passes us, and I'm like, that's the first bad-looking couple I've seen all week. And I couldn't get over the people in Toronto. I mean, it was just like everybody is gorgeous up here. I mean, it's just everybody's game is on up here. So Toronto was a really, really cool, loved everything about it. It was sort of, we were just getting to know you guys, and we were just starting to work with y'all, and just great memories of the shows up there, and the you know, I've always enjoyed being with a startup, anything that's a startup. And you guys were beloved by everybody, players, everybody. So, yeah, great times up in Toronto.
You reminded me of Todd loving Swiss Chalet as much as my man Joel does. Joel, we worked with Todd. He had a great Swiss Chalet shirt. You remember that shirt that he brought back?
I did.
Joel, do you have a Swiss Chalet shirt? We have a Swiss Chalet.
I do not.
Oh, they have great.
I gotta get one.
They got great baseball tees. Nice tie-in.
Yeah.
No doubt. Actually, working with us back then, we were also on the road when Guy Fieri came on our show. That was New Orleans. And you were just telling us off air that you think that you got him on our show.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make some type of discrepancy or bring something up like that you guys misreported something. But like when you guys recently on your top 75 guest show were talking about
Thank you for the plug. Yeah, on the No Dunks feed. Yeah, we did it. That was a fun top 75 going through all our old guests that were phenomenal, Guy Fieri being one of them.
Yeah, we were Todd and I were having dinner, and we look over, and you know, it was a buzz in New Orleans. Everything's going on, the All-Star game, everybody's out having dinner, and Todd looks over, and I look over, and I say, "Is that Guy Fiero?" I said, "That's Guy Fiero." And then he's like, "Let's go over there and talk to him." I'm like, "No," and it's like, we better not. And so he had a whole group of people, and so we were eating dinner. We have a couple of drinks, and as we're having drinks, we're like, "No, I think we should talk to him." And then so, we pay our bill or get our check, and we walk over there, and there's Guy Fiero, and he doesn't know who Larry or Todd is. And we start telling them, we're with the starters. We would love for you to come on the show. And then now we're spokespeople for the starters. And so, he goes, I know the starters very well. And he's very hospitable. And then, the next day, me and Todd are at the set, and lo and behold, there comes Guy Fiero walking down.
Guy Fiero.
And he's like, he's just bigger than life. The hair, the jewelry, the whole thing. I mean, he's just like one of those Hollywood entities. And he was great. He signed the starters thing there live.
The poster.
The poster.
Yep.
So,
he drew some mustaches on our faces.
Mm-hmm. So, we felt like we had helped produce the show that day. We had provided a guest. We were very excited about that.
You obviously always do. You make things happen. Yeah, before we get to a little bit more Braves, just a little bit more of the inside baseball here with, No Dunks and the starters. Do you remember the time, we're in Vegas now, where you got us into Dre's nightclub? We couldn't get in. And obviously hearing all these stories, it's like putting one and one together. You make things happen. So it makes sense that we were struggling. We were in a lineup. We couldn't get in. Here comes Larry French. Gets us in, no problem.
So I literally, I'm the guy that is always calling my wife at home saying, "Hey, will you look to see if I left my debit card on the dresser?" And I can't remember stuff from yesterday. So when I saw this conversation brought up, I was like, holy cow, I remember like it was yesterday. And I remember that I had gone up first and was up there for a while and then came back down and then ran into you guys that could not get in there, and it was an elevator involved.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't remember if it was something that I was wearing, but I basically told these guys, that were stopping you, like, oh, no, these guys are with me. No, they're with us. And then next thing I know, we're in the elevator and we're going up and we're in Dre's. So I just assumed like I belonged, and it kind of worked. And I do that a lot in life. I got to be honest with you.
It's worked for you.
It's that was I do remember the night in Dre's. That was pretty cool.
Well, yeah, let's get to the field here, because you do have an incredible job of being on the field, trailing these guys around for their home runs, their trots, and around the plate. How do you think, just from a production standpoint, things have changed over the years, and how have they improved? I mean, just even you talking about trailing guys as they trot around third base, like that feeling, being at home and watching it, has transformed my viewing experience over the last, whatever it's been, 15 years or whatever. It's added so much, and I just want to know from your perspective how and what has been added to change TV production, because I think that's part of why I've gotten back into the game, because the product has been so much better.
Yeah, it's so the length of time I've been doing it, so the camera complement we use now at a baseball game is basically the same as it's been for a long time, right? Low first camera, low third camera, high home that does the game. Camera 2, the high home camera, is when the ball's hit. That's the first camera it goes to. Camera 4, dead center, is the camera that they use for the framing of the pitcher and the catcher. So for the most part, all those cameras have stayed the same for a long time. The changes that have happened over, and I'm going to say the last 3 years, 36 months, have been the 4K or 5K, whatever they call it. Some people call it the Megalodon camera, that out-of-focus camera that you see. That's sort of the latest and greatest that's come about now. And some, depending on who the director is, depending on who the company is, whether or not they're going to subsidize or bring that camera at the cost is how that would change. For us, the change that occurred maybe about 10 years ago is that all broadcasts were done by trucks being in the loading dock, if you will, that did a baseball game. You'd have two trucks, one truck for the home side and one truck for the away side or the visitors. I actually met the guy that invented this, but there's a gentleman who wrote up on a bar napkin. He showed them how he could compress the two trucks and take some of the stuff that was being done in one truck and put it in the first truck and call it a duel. And so some of the responsibilities of audio and video became part of a duel. So when we'd come to a production, we'd say, what kind of show is this? And they'd say, it's a side-by-side. And that meant there was two trucks that were going to work the game. Or it was a duel, and that means that some people. So the concept of the duel now has even grown more to where now you're hearing the word cloud. And so now you have where there are certain productions, certain companies, ESPN is one of them, where they have the cloud and they have an area where people come, mostly probably Bristol, and they produce games in a room, and the only thing that's on site are the camera operators. So a lot of the tape stuff being done, all the replays that are being done in the cloud, wherever that is, wherever there might be in the cloud. So the word cloud has come about a lot.
So what does the dual system produce?
Yeah, so a dual would be where you would use you might have a tape op that's doing the same role for both sides, home and away. Most of the times in a dual, it affects audio, because audio is sort of universal in that sense.
Right. Audio's gotten better on the broadcast.
Yes, it definitely has. This gentleman that wrote up the instructions on a bar napkin, he basically took one side of the away side truck, and you know how you see like a tractor trailer, the cab, and it's got that airfoil on top of the hood that makes the air go over the truck. Well, that cab area of the truck where a regular over the haul driver would sleep at night, that area of those trucks is where they created the audio department. So that sort of almost eliminated another truck, and they started calling it a dual. But the thing that every company is, budget cuts. You hear it in the news all the time. You see what's going on with the talent that just recently got let go. We're in influx right now in TV. There's some changes that are going on as to how they're going to produce games. I think robotics are going to be more of a thing. I think they're going to share feeds a little bit more with cameras. So we're in that mode where a couple of years ago we were in the growing mode, trying to reinvent, trying to change telecast, make them better. And I'm not saying they're not trying to make them better. They're just they're in that bottom line situation where these contracts are so astronomical to get the rights to broadcast stuff. I mean, I have no idea how they even come to the price of what a Super Bowl is. And then now, we've heard mention that, you might hear that Apple does the Super Bowl or Amazon does the Super Bowl. Those are players now that we're hearing about that, you just don't know. And they all produce their product differently. They all have a way they want to do things. So for the most part, we're being told that nothing's really going to change as far as the type of camera, where the cameras are going to be. These cameras, the design of the cameras have really not changed over like 20, 30 years. The lens, the camera, the head, the tripod, they're all basically the same. The newest stuff have been what you might see during the World Series, a little guy running around. He's got two hands on a gimbal. He's got a little antenna. He's got a backpack. That's an RF. For the most part, that's been really the only major change you've seen it in football games in the NFL. Some people call it the out of focus camera. People love that or hate that. I work with a gentleman at the Braves, and he's running one of those, and we're experimenting with that right now. And I think it's a good look. It's definitely adds something to the telecast. I think. Yeah, that's we're nothing really has changed other than the cloud is the biggest thing. I would say the cloud and what the cloud will become. What I would be interested in what the cloud's going to look like in 5 years. Is there going to be permanent cameras put in the stadiums, and will they be robotically operated? So, I'm 61, so
you're good.
I'm okay. I'm all right.
But from your point of view, AI is not taking that over.
Yeah.
Somebody on the field trailing players.
Yeah, like I just started. When you start. I'm not saying I look at TikTok, but every now and then I look at TikTok, and it seems like AI. You're starting to hear buzz about AI. You heard AI a year ago, 2 years ago, but now you're really starting to hear about AI. I will honestly say in the TV world, we're not really hearing that buzz, if you will. You're not hearing people say, "Oh, AI is going to do this." I was listening to I can't remember what radio was, and they were playing AI of rap artists that had passed away, singing current songs. I was like, how does that work? So I wasn't aware that it was at that level. I'm sort of I still have an AOL email, so I'm getting there.
I love it.
Did you contact Larry on his AOL email, JD?
I absolutely did. Absolutely.
When you have an AOL email, it then becomes a rite of passage, and you're like somebody says, well, I think I've missed work because my email starts out with the word parab, and a parab is a parabola. It's the first job I had in TV. It's the little round mic you see the guys on the sideline hold, and that was my first job I ever did, was holding the sound mic on the field. And so that was my email. So now I've had the email for 30 years. I can't leave it now.
No,
it's like,
no, it's a part of you.
Yeah.
How do they grab, speaking of audio, guy hits a double, reacts at second base, like pounding his chest. He's excited. And they grab the audio from that. What mic is that on?
So at Truist Park, we have two parabolas, which are really round. So if you watch the broadcast and you see the shot of the batter, you can sort of make them out. They're these green boxes that are behind the catcher, and it's a parabola, and they're pointed in a direction.
Yeah, they're sort of within the advertisement or just above.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think it's Fox or maybe some broadcasts. So some broadcasts do have the mic'd bags. And so when you hear that guy slide, it's like, oh, my God, you can hear every rock in the ground, you know. And so I'll see an audio guy. Not to say that we don't do that on an everyday basis, because we don't on an everyday game. But when they have the bigger games, if it's Sunday Night Baseball or if it's a Saturday Fox, I know Fox does a lot of the miking of the bag.
Yeah.
They actually own their own bag that has a cutout where where the little mic goes. But these parabolas, they're very directionally pointed. I used to be on the football field pregame with the parabola, and I would sort of like point it at people to see what they were saying. Like, and it's kind of like listen to the coach. And I mean, these things could pick up from one side of the football field to the other. Like they pick up a lot. But yeah, in that it's either where the parabola is picking it up and your audio tech is riding that replay. So they might, let's say they go to replay and it's a tight shot of him sliding, and they've tracked, the audio guy is tracking that. He'll ride that track. He'll just bump that up to maybe 10, bump it up high. So in the replay, it really accentuates the sound that you're hearing. But that, yeah, you're hearing a mic in the bag. Yep.
That's
Crazy.
awesome. Yeah. I don't mind geeking out a little bit. Do you any technical questions you got over there, JD?
Man, we're going deep.
Yeah,
deep.
I had to.
No, I love
wanted to
it.
know where that one came from.
Yeah, of
Mike in the
course.
bag.
I gotta just tell you one, memories, good or bad. One bad memory I had was I just started with the Braves, and we did a thing called the pop fly contest. And so that was sort of the entertainment at the beginning of the game.
Okay.
And so they shot a ball up in the air, and the host would have a contestant that would be out in the outfield.
Yeah.
And he's, all right, I've got Steve here from Duluth. Steve, you catch all three of these balls, you're going to win this fabulous T-shirt. And so I was out there, shooting the two of them talking, and then all of a sudden, all right, Steve, let's see you do it. And then Mark Owens was the host. He'd walk away, and then I'd get away, and then they'd shoot these three balls. So he'd catch the first one. I'd sort of run toward him and get a shot of him catching it. And then I'd run away from him, then run back when he got the second one. And then the third one, whether he got it or not, we'd come back together, Mark, and then interview him. Oh, Steve, you almost had that third one, but it just was a little too high. And so on this particular day, the guy was running away from me, and I was running toward him, so I'd be ready. And then all of a sudden, I guess he realized he'd run too far. He turned and ran back toward me, and I didn't catch that he was running back toward me. And by the time I caught it, I ran into him, and the ball fell on the ground, and I got booed by about 30,000 people. And that was when I got this from Matt. So that was a bad moment.
Did the guy get a T-shirt? Maybe you can give him one of your
starters
starters T-shirts.
I don't think he got a T-shirt on that day.
Sticklers.
And then one other. This was at a Hawks game, and we're in a commercial, and the director's saying, "Let's come back with 9." You get that opportunity with a wireless camera to talk to fans and say, hey, I'd like for you to do this. We're going to come back from a commercial. How about doing some cheering? So I had nothing. And he's like, you ready, 9 down there? You got somebody? And there was a girl that was in this really skimpy outfit at a Hawks game, and they hand out candy and chocolate to all the
people in the front row.
And so I'm shooting this, and I didn't realize this happened at the time. So they go, 3, 2, 1, take 9. And I'm just framed this girl up, and she's handing candy out, and she's going down the line. Well, unbeknownst to me, I didn't see it. Everybody started laughing about it after they got the shot. Al Horford's little brother.
That's the Al Horford.
That's the Al Horford
That's what
video.
I was just thinking about.
And
when
so
when
he
you said
is
that.
checking her out, and this is like his great awareness of this. And this is, this girl with this little outfit on, and he's like, whoa. And he turns his head, and then they get off the shot. And I didn't even see him do it. And then somebody says, hey, man, that thing's got like 1 million hits already. It's like an hour later. So I think that night or the next night, it was on Jimmy Kimmel's show, and they showed it. But so the next game, Al Horford's mom comes up to me, and she's like, you know good. You know good. And I said, I'm sorry. I just was and then she laughed about it. We've since laughed about it since then. So that was
Incredible.
pretty cool moment.
Oh, I had no idea. That is a
Yeah, people say,
memorable
you
video.
got any videos that went viral? And then I have to throw that in. I was like, they're thinking great sports shots, and
Right.
it's Al's little brother checking her out.
It's only human. Only human.
Right?
okay. Well, yeah. Let's briefly just wrap up here with the Braves team that are obviously kicking ass and are in line to kick ass for a long time here with the way they've structured their team. How is it just being around that clubhouse, that group of guys?
It's been a joy to see. I'm not going to say Ozzy and Acuna are the architects, but the whole relationship those two guys have and started sort of had manifested its way where Austin Riley and Matt Olson are they sit together. If you watch the game, they always sit together after they both hit home runs, and then they sit next to each other. And they, like myself, they're great looking. And they're just everybody is gelling right now, and like the team 1 through 9 is like there's no weakness right now. It's like you almost pray that this doesn't change, but I don't think I've ever felt this good about a baseball team in a lot of years. And I know the DH had something to do with that as far as 1 through 9, but right now everybody is. Azuna was in the dugout the other day, and he walked by me, and I slapped him on the back, and I was like, "You're red hot," and he goes, "Yes, it's about time." And he was that guy. You knew he was great. He just needed to find his swing, and I'm excited about the rest of the season. It's just a joy to be down there. These guys are not. They're not tight. They're never tight. They're always cutting up. There's so much chemistry throughout the team, whether it's with Ron Washington working with the players pregame, doing his warm-up bit. Snit is just that no nonsense coach. There's no drama about him. Everybody, all the players know he is all about business. He's about the bottom line, and so I'm not fearful of other teams, Yeah. I'm not fearing the Dodgers. I don't really fear the Yankees. The Braves will be playing the Yankees here in Atlanta, which will be exciting. Mm-hmm. And I think California is playing here, the Angels.
Yeah.
They're pretty good,
We're in the midst of it right now. I regret as well if we didn't talk briefly about the Hazels and Wendy's story that you mentioned. I will wrap up with that, with a sad one, unfortunately, after all these incredible stories.
So when I worked at Wendy's, there was this girl that worked at Wendy's. Her name was Hazel. She was the cashier in the front, and I really liked her. And so I was playing baseball in high school for a team in Columbus, and we had their baseball banquet. And at the banquet, you have all the teams there, football, wrestling, baseball. So I invited her. She said, sure, I'll go. So I pick her up. We go to the school. It's where the banquet is. And then so you got to wait for your segment of the ceremony to happen. And so, boom, baseball happens. Coach Maddox is our coach. And so
no relation to Greg.
No relationship to Greg.
Okay.
So he's like, going through the rundown. Well, I wasn't a really good player. I was a backup catcher. The starting catcher was John White, and he was drafted by the Pirates, and I was behind him, and I was not good. But I had a really good senior year, and I was thinking maybe I'll get that most improved, that little award or mention. So Coach Maddox has everybody up, and he goes, all right, here's our senior players, and he brings everybody on stage, and our most improved player, I didn't get it, and so he introduced them. And then he goes, let's give a big round of applause for your 1980 Carver Tigers. And then everybody's thinking, and I'm sitting here next to Hazel. I'm like, I must be getting some really cool award, like they're about to call it. And then the host goes, all right, we'll now go to the wrestling team. The coach forgot to bring me up on the stage. He didn't have me on the sheet of paper.
That is a sad story.
I'm like, I look at Hazel, I'm like, I swear to God, I'm on the baseball team. And so she's like, no, it's okay. And so I bring her over to Coach Maddox. I'm like, Maddox, you forgot me on the. Oh my God, Larry, I'm so sorry. And I was like, no problem. It's like, I had the date here, and I just want to make sure, everybody's cool. So we go home. I drop Hazel off, and I find another job, and we separate. We go our different ways. Fast forward to about 15 years later, I'm working camera in the Braves Stadium, and I'm walking by, and all of a sudden Hazel's right there in the stadium. It's Hazel. And I'm like, Hazel. She's like, Larry. And then I look, and then next to her looks like some kids. And she's like, oh, these are my two sons. I'm like, what? That's awesome. And fist bump them. I got the camera. And then she goes, and Robert, she's married to Robert. He played on the baseball team. I don't know how that happened. I don't know when they started talking. I don't know if it was when I was with Coach Maddox. So, anyways, there, everything's good. She works at a bank that I frequent, and so we've laughed about it many times, and so I'm good. Everything worked out.
Does she wear a uniform with white pants and a little derby hat?
She did wear one day for a promotion the little Wendy's wig with the little red wig.
The pigtails kind of thing?
Yeah.
Wow, what a memory. Wow, great.
It was great times.
Glad we ended with that. Joel, I've ignored you like Coach Maddox ignored Larry way back when.
I know I was long-winded today.
I'm taking it all in.
Great stuff. Any last words, Joel, before I wrap up? That was awesome. That was a lot of fun.
Larry said that he doesn't like movies. I'm gonna suggest you go see Oppenheimer this afternoon. It's a cinematic masterpiece, Larry.
Okay, so I took my wife to a movie last week, and I was like, these are your choices, the one you just mentioned, or we can go see Mission Impossible. And I don't think she had an opinion about either, and we ended up going to Mission Impossible. And I said, we really need to see part 1, part 2, whatever. So we went. I can't tell you how I'm upset at the movie theater. So the last 2 movies I saw was Top Gun with him, with Tom Cruise, and then Mission Impossible. There's not a bullet that will hit him. He can't die. He can't fall off a train. There's nothing that will kill this guy. And
No stakes.
It's unbelievable. So the movie you mentioned, I think that's where I'm going next weekend.
All right. You still see movies. You still see movies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You just hate them.
I hate them.
Well, we'll get you back in for a film session because sometimes we review some films. JD is the number 1 film critic in here.
Yeah. That's true, I guess. Yeah. I like Mission Impossible, but I'm a sucker.
I like Maverick, but I'm a sucker. All right, Larry. Can't thank you enough coming in.
Well, I have a special announcement.
What do you got for us, Larry? What's in this bag? What you got in that bag?
I have something for you.
Oh.
Here we go. Oh, wow. This is an Atlanta Braves World Championship replica ring?
Wait a minute.
Well, I got to open it.
Wait a minute.
I want to open it.
What did you call it?
A ring.
Yeah, but you said what?
I said the word replica. I shouldn't have said that.
I thought this was the ring company replica. Replica.
Oh, we'll accept it.
Here's JD's.
Listen.
Thank you, Larry.
Your autograph that you got, that was a replica. That wasn't a real one. Who gave you that replica autograph? I already forget.
I thought this was a replica.
Listen, wow, look at this. Looks real to me.
I had that size. See if that fits you.
What are you talking about? You had this size.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, we can focus here in the studio.
Nice.
You got to put that on.
Of course I'm going to put it on. You're the man, Larry. Thank you so much. Going
I
to wear
just
this.
hope. I told him a size 7.
Size
Yes.
7?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Look at that.
This is great.
Wow.
This is awesome.
One more shot. One more shot before we go. Let's get this right. This ain't no Magdalene, whatever you call it.
Slowly focusing in for effect. This is great.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's how you close a show, Larry.
Right there.
Way to produce this thing. Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Awesome.
Really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys. This was fun. I appreciate it.
The replica.
It was a replica,
so
like
good.
Jostin's.
So good. Yeah, shout out to Justin's. This
you
is
can't
awesome.
get it off.
This is no. Did you ask for a size? No. Okay. Because it fits so well.
Yes,
all
I
right.
did. Yes, I did.
That's why you've been married this long,
I
Larry.
had it sized for you.
All right, that does it for No Bunts this week. We will see you next Wednesday. Subscribe wherever you get your pods to the Athletic Baseball Show. Watch live every Wednesday. Check out some of our shorter videos. Joel doing his magic on Instagram or on our YouTube channel. For Joel, for JD, for Larry French. Incredible stuff, Larry. Thanks for coming in. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys.
Larry.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you
Thanks,
next
Larry.
week.
A little long-winded.
Nah, perfect winded.